military both here and overseas, and with our local students as they start to get out of school. Hope us all to have an enjoyable, safe summer. Pray to just look over us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners, next we have the roll call. Carla, would you please call roll?
Mayor Burbrick.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Fowler.
Here.
Commissioner Rogers.
Here.
Commissioner Randall.
Here.
Commissioner McClure.
Here.
All present.
Okay, thank you. Next is the agenda approval. If there are any items on this evening's agenda that need to be pulled from consideration, now would be the time to do so. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
move to approve the agenda.
Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this evening's agenda as given. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, next we'll move into citizen recognition. Mr. Wright.
Thanks, Mayor. I do have the privilege today to recognize, it's a privilege and it's not really a privilege because I hate to recognize him because then when we recognize him he's going to leave. So maybe we'll just filibuster. Who's with me? Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I want to recognize Larry Turk this evening. Larry is our superintendent at the Aztec Ruins National Monument. He's been in the community for about 5 years now. I was asking Larry the dates when he came, and it's going to be, when he leaves, it'll be 5 years and maybe a couple of weeks or something. It's one of those good things for Larry because he and his family are going to go to New York, and he's going to manage like 30 different sites all over the place, like 20 different presidents and all this other stuff. And it sounds fun, but it's not the Aztec Ruins National Monument, which is the sad part, because with Larry here, the monument has become this amazing entity. It really has. You know, we as a commission and a staff and a community, we've preached and preached the value of having one of very few World Heritage sites right here in our community. And outside of the World Heritage site, it's actually this beginning of civilization, this show of how people used to live here and the processes for how people trek through this area. But it was just this idea before Larry got here. And I'm not talking about the staffing and the management beforehand, but what Larry brought to this community was a breadth of knowledge, this military focus that he has, his seriousness all the time, where he just gives you that look. He's probably doing it now. But what that look means is he's getting things done. And he made the monument something extremely special to our community. The best thing for us is it happened in parallel when the city was doing projects to grow closer to the monument, to grow and promote this existence so much more. And Larry was working on one end, we were working on the other, and the symbolic side is we built a bridge together, working with Larry and his crew to get us closer to the monument, to make it be part of the community, and it's amazing. That's one of the coolest things that we could do is Larry was building a sign, Ed was building a sign. I mean, at the same time, there was this cohesion between our groups, and that's been a great blessing for us here in the community. It's going to be sad to see Larry and Katie leave, but it's a choice they made, and we support the heck out of them because it's something fun. And the best part is, he said at some point they may come back, and that's even better for us, because even if he's not working at the monument, Larry's been one heck of a citizen. He's been active in ATOS. He's been active throughout the community. We do groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings, and for some reason he just keeps showing up, and people just don't do that. It's a public service that you don't see with a lot of people anymore, and it's such a great blessing having Larry. So what I did want to do this evening, from our commission, from our staff, from our community, is present Larry with this plaque so that when he gets to the great state of New York, he's going to have this plaque on his wall that says, no matter how far you drive away, you're going to have to remember the city of Aztec, not just the monument, but the entire city, all 6,763 of us, well, minus you. And it says, City of Aztec, in recognition of 5 years of service to the citizens and the city of Aztec as superintendent of the Aztec Ruins National Monument and as an active citizen, presented this 24th day of May 2016 to Larry Turk. And the best part about this is I found this amazing quote that really says Larry Turk. The Athenians had an oath for someone who was about to become a citizen. They had to swear that I shall leave the city not less but more beautiful than I found it. And that's Richard Rogers. And the mark of your work at the monument is exactly that. You left it better than when you got here. And we're a better city for your work, Larry. So we just want to say thank you.
I know where you're going, but we're going to get a picture of it.
You know how much I like that.
I know, so I appreciate it. That's yours. Ready?
I'm trying to get everybody's picture. I abandoned it this time.
Thank you, sir.
Well, you know how much I like to talk. I'm a person of very few words, but it has been an honor to work here in Aztec. The community is very lucky to have the commission they have, and the mayor is second to none. You're top notch. And it was a hard decision to make for us, because this is home. Katie's from the Four Corners. We transplanted in here, my family, in the late 70s, so we love the Four Corners, but this is a good opportunity for us to move up, and hopefully we'll be back. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Larry.
I truly want to say thank you, Larry, for it. Yeah, this is truly the first time I've cried when we've lost a superintendent, so. But you have been a wonderful partner to work with, and just a great inspiration in helping us move the entire community forward, and that is so appreciated and will be missed. So, best of luck to your entire family.
And please come back. Yes.
Yes.
After you
My
win New York.
Granddaughter's been running wild.
We'll just leave her here and then we'll let her handle the monument.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'm not stopping her either. There's no chance I'm going to slow her down.
You know, we're always looking for the next group of elected officials. Okay, now you follow up.
The good news is that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, yeah.
And now that Mr. Homke is here, I don't have to filibuster anymore, so we're good. We can proceed.
Okay, then we'll move into employee recognition.
I don't have any of those, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Next is the consent agenda. Items placed on the consent agenda will be voted on with one motion. If there are any items that do not meet the approval of the commissioner, a commissioner may request that the item be heard under items on the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed? No. Okay, then I would entertain a motion for approval.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve the consent agenda as is.
Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this evening's consent agenda as given. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, there are no items for discussion under items from the consent agenda. Next, we'll move into citizens input. Any citizen who wishes to address the commission on any topic not on this evening's agenda would have the ability to do so. We need you to sign up at the clerk's table under citizens input. No one. Okay, no one's running for the table. All right, then we'll move into business items. Business item A, intent to adopt ordinance 2016-452, amend chapter 1, general provisions, section 1 through 8, general penalty for violations, injunctive relief authorized.
Mayor, as you can see from the staff summary, at this time, we don't have a mechanism inside of our city code that would allow for community service for defendants that are unable to pay fines. This is one of those code updates that we look through all the time, because allowing community service is a vital part of our court system, and it's something that Judge Gray utilizes as often as possible. So what this would do is it would update that section of code for allowing community service.
Are there any questions from commissioners? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I move to approve the intent to adopt ordinance 2016-454, addition to chapter 1, section 1 through 8, general penalty for violation, injunctive relief authorized. But 452, sorry.
Okay, there was a motion, do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Burbridge?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem White?
Aye.
Commissioner Randall?
Aye.
Commissioner McClure?
Aye.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next, we will move into land use hearings. Please bear with me as I read through our script before we begin. The following hearing procedure is for all hearings on tonight's agenda. A land use hearing registration form is located on the clerk's table. That will be to everyone's right out there. For those who wish to receive a copy of the results from this hearing, you must provide your full name and current mailing address in order to receive a copy of the land use hearing order. If you wish to testify and provide comment on the matter at issue, you must register with the clerk on the land use hearing registration form and be sworn in with staff, the applicants, identified parties, witnesses, and interested persons. The meeting tonight will be conducted under procedures mandated by the New Mexico Court of Appeals in Battershaw versus the City of Albuquerque, which are intended to protect the due process rights of all parties. Under this ruling, the following procedures will apply. Parties to the hearing will be identified, as will any witnesses the parties may wish to give testimony, as well as any interested persons wishing to testify and provide comment. City staff has a responsibility to assist the commission in fully developing the meeting record and may testify. All persons offering testimony will be sworn in by myself, who is authorized to administer oaths. All persons offering testimony will be subject to cross-examination by commission, city staff, and the parties to the hearing. Testimony will be limited to the relevant matter being heard. The items to be decided at tonight's public hearing are item A, an oil and gas application to plug and abandon an existing well, and item B, a minor subdivision preliminary and final plat approval. Testimony will be limited by myself. For the purpose of this meeting, applicants are defined as XTO Energy, represented by, is it Cheryline Weston?
Yes.
Okay. And for the minor subdivision, preliminary and final plat approval. Do you have the sign-up sheets? Okay, and then we also have Scott Backstrom.
I'm with her.
You're,
so-
okay,
my
so
backup.
you're both part of the applicant, okay.
Yeah.
Charlene and Scott, okay. Okay, just a second. Okay, so the applicants, and then for the minor subdivision and preliminary plat approval, we have, is it Melanie Lamar?
Yes, she just stepped out with
Just-
Mr. Hopka.
Okay. Do I go ahead and continue moving forward? Yes,
She's on.
okay. Okay, other persons may be designated by the commission as parties if they can show, to the satisfaction of the commission, that they have an immediate, pecuniary, or direct interest in the outcome of the meeting. Witnesses are those persons designated by parties to present testimony on their behalf. Interested persons are those persons interested in the case but not identified as either a party by commission or a witness by any party. So aside from the applicants and city staff, are there any persons who wish to be identified as a party to these items? Okay, seeing none. We do have Mr. Robert Martinez signed up as an interested person for the XTO Energy. Okay, and that's all. That's all that wish to testify, correct? Okay. Okay, so at this time, will the commission accept for the XTO Energy plug and abandoned for the well site? We have Cheryline Weston and Scott Braxton as the applicants, and then we have Mr. Robert Martinez as an interested person. Does the commission accept this?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And then for the minor subdivision preliminary and final plat approval, we have Ms. Melanie Lamar as the applicant.
Yes.
Commission accepts. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, as we move into the land use hearing portion of the meeting, is there a challenge to the jurisdiction of the City of Aztec Commissioners to hear any of the hearings on tonight's agenda? Okay. Are there any conflicts of interest or personal biases to be declared by a commission member? No. Have there been any ex parte contacts regarding the upcoming matters that a commissioner member needs to declare? Okay, at this time, will staff, the applicants, parties identified by commission, all witnesses, and any interested persons wishing to testify regarding the oil and gas application to plug and abandon the existing well, and for the minor subdivision preliminary and final plat approval, please stand and raise your right hand. Okay. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes. Yes.
Please be seated. Okay. Testimony and evidence must be directed toward the oil and gas application to plug and abandon an existing well, or the minor subdivision preliminary and final plat approval, and any applicable federal, state, or municipal laws or regulations or criteria which the person testifying believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue with sufficient specificity to afford us and other interested persons an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal on that issue. Any party is identified by the commission may request a continuance of this hearing if able to provide documentation or evidence in support or opposition of the application, in addition to what was available at the time that notice of this hearing was provided. In the conduct of land use hearings, unless there is a continuance, if a participant so requests before the conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing, the record shall remain open for at least 7 days after the hearing. The order of presentations, come up on your screen to your left. I'll briefly read through the parts that pertain this evening. First, staff will summarize the staff report to the extent necessary to enable those present to understand the issues before the commissioners. Then the commission members may ask questions of staff, and they may be cross-examined by the applicant and any parties. Next, the applicant, to include any witnesses, will have up to 15 minutes to address the commission. The commission members may ask questions of the applicant, and they may be cross-examined by staff and parties. Okay, we don't have parties this evening. Interested persons will have 5 minutes each to address the commission, and then they may be questioned by the commission, and they may be cross-examined by staff and any applicants or parties. That time, the hearing will then be closed to all testimony. The commission may discuss the issue amongst themselves. The commission will then make a decision and issue findings of fact and conclusions of law, move into closed session pursuant to New Mexico Statute 10.15.1.H-1, the Open Meetings Act exception, continue the public hearing until a specified time, or take the matter under advisement and announce their recommendation at a specified time. Okay, so at this time, we will begin the hearings. And the first hearing on tonight's agenda is the XCO Energy oil and gas application to plug and abandon an existing well. Mr. Hoffman.
Good evening, Commission. The matter before you tonight is a rather familiar well. It was under the discussion during some of our flooding. It's back there off of Sabina Avenue behind what we all know as our animal shelter. And this request for our oil and gas code section is requesting your permission to plug and abandon the well. It's known as Hampton D #1, and it's within the city of Aztec. It's actually on Aztec property. It's about a half-acre site. Some of the things we typically review for, because it's a plug and abandon, we don't need to know. It's not going to be a new pad. No total pad area is 2.5 acres. The important thing to know about this one is that the remediation plan, the reclamation plan, we should say, is actually in cooperation with our Public Works Department and Mr. Watson because of the arroyo study that's going on back there. So it's a rather unique opportunity with this closure to not only have the well removed and abandoned, but then to have some of the work be part of one of our flood strategies that we're looking at. As you know, that area was hit fairly hard. So, in looking over all of the items that were submitted, and all the notices were provided, I saw no reason not to recommend approval to all of you. There's 7 findings of fact. Some of them include, I think number 7, the reclamation plan is unique in its proposed cooperation with the City of Aztec's ongoing efforts to prepare a flood mitigation study and eliminate the potential for future damage to nearby property owners caused by flooding.
So, we don't know what this plan is yet.
This plan?
Right.
Well, this is work that, I mean, this here is getting rid of the approval to
Right,
do
flood
well,
and abandon.
but it happens to be in the study area.
So the changes we're gonna make are recommended by the study?
Right, that's what I'm asking. What are we recommending as changes?
What I would say is in passes is the changes are going to be with subject to the approval of our engineer. With the study, he can speak to that.
Good evening, Commission. We are planning to construct a detention pond in where the well used to be. One important aspect of capping the well is that we do need this cap to be subsurface.
Okay.
So I would recommend that that be part of the approval process.
So basically, we're gonna cap the well and put the cap in the bottom of the pond.
A potential pond.
Right, right.
But in all reality, it'll be dry almost all the time. But in the case of a large rainfall event, then it will act as a detention pond to slow the water down before the runoff water goes into the Sabina Arroyo, which then dumps into the Hampton Arroyo. And there's some other improvements that are planned to that Sabina Arroyo downstream of the detention pond. Basically, the detention pond will be, I don't know, something like 6 feet deep and about, I'm just guessing, generalities, probably 1.5 acres, something like that. And
The detention pond will be.
Yes, and it's being designed basically to hold around the 50 or 60 million, this first phase. And then there is a potential of following that up with additional phases to enlarge that detention pond. But at this point, there's some other oil companies that are adjacent to this detention pond improvement that we haven't got quite all the details worked out, and they are not involved in capping a well. So we don't have that leverage that we do with XQ.
Okay, so for the purposes of moving the request before us to plug and abandon forward, because normally we would know exactly what the plan is for reclamation.
Right.
Okay, so in this case, basically what we're doing is we are saying XTO, you're done once you plug and abandon, so long as it's at grade, whatever grade that needs to be, and then we, the City of Aztec, are taking over the reclamation?
Well, hold it, not so.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking, because that's what it looks like on paper.
No,
Well,
I think that Mr. Honka mentioned that XTO and I are working together to make this detention pond construction occur. And my plan is to have XTO actually do the construction of the detention, rather than converting the area back to
Back to
natural
native
habitat.
vegetation, right.
And as I understand it from the XTO folks who are here in the room tonight, that they do not have the clearance from management to proceed with it at this time. So any approval I think that you need to make tonight should be contingent upon us working the details out for this detention.
And receiving their approval to move on.
Yeah. We do have a preliminary design that the city paid for, that we had Sauter Miller Associates put together some 2 or 3 months ago. So we do have a preliminary plan. That was not brought before you tonight. I apologize, but I didn't even know that I would be presenting tonight. But the original design of the detention pond is much larger than what we would be building this time. So that design will have to be revised, and I've been working with Sauter Miller to get a hold of electronic files from them to do that, but
So-
I've not been successful.
So the original plans would involve the participation of these other well locations, is that
No.
correct? No. Then why were we building a smaller pond?
Because there's some, to put it bluntly, there's a big hill in the way
Uh-huh.
that will be expensive to move.
Okay.
So that's what I'm calling phase 2 of this
Moving
detention
the hill.
pond.
Okay.
Yeah. And the adjacent oil company has I don't know how you call it, a facility where they put the pigs in their lines.
A big launcher?
Yeah, and that may be expensive to move, which then involves some more funding on the part of the city to have that done. Since, again, we don't have the leverage over Enterprise that we would now over XDO.
Okay.
So, but honestly, we can enlarge the pond as big as we want it, but remember, we've got to come up with the dollars to do that.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I've got a point. The findings of fact as drafted now mention the reclamation plan, but make no reference to the approval of the plug and abandon being contingent upon basically an arrangement or an agreement between XTO and the city for the reclamation.
Mhm.
So I think if we're going to consider it for approval, probably we need to add a finding of fact
Right.
for that contingency. Otherwise, we approve the
approve
plug and
this,
abandon, they
and
plug
they
and
can-
abandon, then they may abandon.
Abandon, yes.
But then they can't, excuse me, but they can't do anything till they get approval from their management, so.
Well, I can't imagine management would have a problem with saying plug and abandon and walk away. Not that I'm saying you guys would, I'm just saying.
No,
do you know
we're
what I
saying
mean?
it's contingent upon working
Right.
together.
Right.
Together. Does this have to have the marker?
I think
You
that's-
know, the marker when you plug?
Yes.
So would that be like in the, I mean, I went up to that well site today. So would that be like in the middle of that?
Well-
It does have two things on either, and it's in the lower area, and it looks like it hasn't been used for a long time, right? Yeah, I mean, if we have to do this, usually it's the reclamation, you take it back to its natural grasses, stuff like that, but if there's a contingency before we can go through with this, then I guess my question is, why are we doing it tonight? If they don't have approval to work with us to build this retention pond? Cause I hate to hold them up again until, cause if they say nay, let's say your management company says nay, then we would just be doing the plug and abandon. Without perhaps reseeding the area, because the city would wanna do something else.
Well, and that's it, and I don't think XTO is going to just plug it, abandon it, and walk away. All of my negotiations with XTO all along was some kind of cooperation between the two agencies so that we could both get highlights in the newspaper.
Right. And I understand that, we just have to make sure that we're covered with a paper trail.
Right.
Yeah.
So, again, I must explain that this plan to install the detention pond is not actually part of the drainage study.
Gotcha.
So this is something that I have taken on myself to design with Sauter Miller so that we can help mediate those flood events in that area.
So then is
So this
it,
would be, I'm sorry.
is it outside of the scope of the current flood study?
Not necessarily, but this solution has already been included in the study. So, well as, and honestly, I have to say, I haven't even looked at any kind of remediation that's involved in the study. But this particular detention pond has been in the works since the flood itself. So there's no way it could be part of the study because the flood was before the study was even started.
But it wouldn't be detrimental to anything else
Oh, no.
in the study,
No.
planned in the
So
study.
and the folks that did the study are well aware of this improvement.
Well, Madam Mayor, let me ask Mr. Honk a question. So, is staff's suggested approval of plug and abandon contingent upon the detention pond plan and in construction, or is your recommendation approve plug and abandon as a separate item from the detention pond?
First, I think it's conditioned on, like you say, C number 7, that it's a unique opportunity. This is my fault. I knew Mr. Watson during our staff meeting had mentioned that he wanted a subsurface cap, which should be added as a condition for a finding of fact as well, that there's a subsurface cap put in. But for some reason, I thought this was part of that overall study because the date was, you can see the first date is September or something right after the August flood. So I presume that the work he was doing was in tandem with the ongoing studies. But in either event, we know that's a difficult area for drainage, and if they're doing work over there, even if there wasn't a study going on, this is an opportunity to help ameliorate some of the water flow. It's not uncommon, at least in my experience, to be able to condition an approval, and we call them findings of fact here, but it would be in effect things that the applicant would have to meet. And so working to the satisfaction of the Public Works Department and our engineer to construct this element. Otherwise, they would have to come back. I think, and the applicant can speak for themselves, but I think, you know, this is what is at the horse of the cart. They want to see what we're going to do first, and we're willing to work with them. Obviously, Mr. Watson has been working with them. This is the first formalized decision about what to do. And I don't see anything wrong from a planning point of view, just spelling out what we see and the flexibility granted to the Public Works Department then by an approval that say meets his satisfaction for the remediation. Otherwise, sure, we would have a list of the kinds of natural flora and fauna and everything else, which is kind of standard. So that's why I say this is a unique opportunity.
Madam Mayor, I think that if we simply add that general contingency as a finding of fact, then if the contingency can't be met at that point, somebody's going to have to come back in front of the commission anyway.
Right. Okay, so the contingency being that approval is of the plug and abandon is conditional upon XTO working with the city to achieve a final plan and construction?
Yes.
And a subsurface.
And a subsurface, correct.
And take out the, excuse me, number 7, where it says preparing a flood mitigation plan study.
So change number 7 to that I.
Right, I think that's what you're just changing.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Yes, Mr. Watson.
And, Madam Mayor and Commission, actually, we did hire Sutter Miller and Associates to do mini flood study. So it's not as if we're
For that
just,
specific
yes, for
pond.
this specific detention pond. So it's not as if we're just pulling the size of this detention pond out and deciding, well, it should look like this. We are changing it a bit because of the circumstances and the topography of the area. So I'm calling it like a phase 1 and phase 2 construction.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Okay, so at this time then, the applicants, Ms. Weston, Mr. Backstrom, any cross-examination of anything that staff said for clarification?
The only thing that I might add is,
We do need you to come up to the podium.
Oh, okay.
Apologies.
sorry. The only thing that I might add is, we have an obligation through the state to perform the reclamation to the standards of the surface owner. So, with that being said, is there a possibility that we could get permission to plug the well? I mean, we have to reclaim it.
And then under that state obligation.
Right.
just to get that piece of the puzzle put together.
Excuse me, some consideration. I think that's probably fine as long as we have something in the finding of fact that indicate that it's the plan of XTO and the city to move in a certain direction with the reclamation. That being the detention pond.
Developing that final plan of construction.
They've got the obligation under state law and Oil and Gas Commission to remediate. And if we had some kind of finding of fact that tied the remediation to that specific plan.
And I think that we said in the plan that we were working with the city to develop something. And it's kind of complicated. It's out of the norm for us to try to do something like this. And I guess the main reason I say that is with the construction of this detention pond, we need something that releases us
of liability.
Future liability.
Yeah.
So it's all got to come together, and it's not
Right,
gonna,
and you've
it's not
got
gonna
the
happen
obligation
overnight.
for a permanent marker under state law that needs to be complied with. So you've got boxes that need check marks, and we've got boxes that need check marks.
Right. And our obligation is to put a 4-foot marker. Now, if you guys wanted the low grade marker, I believe the city will have to go to the OCD and make that request.
Request a variance.
Right.
And I'm not certain that the 4-foot marker wouldn't be fine within
Even
the
a separate.
detention pond. I mean, it's gonna be, as Mr. Watson said, it's gonna be dry 98% of the time.
But we will need to check into that.
We need to look at that issue as to whether we need a different permanent marker, or we go with the standard 4-foot well marker.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see what the difference would be other than visible.
Right. Okay. Anything else? I mean, you do have up to 15 minutes to address the commission if you choose. You don't have to, but.
No, I think that pretty well sums it up. The question is, can we make something happen? That's,
May I add something? We have a rig available to do the work. Our contract with that rig company, I believe is over at the end of May. So we're hoping that we can put a rig on location before June 1st.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Christian?
Can I ask why you're plugging and abandoning that well? Is it just not producing, or?
it's not producing any longer.
Okay,
It's
not at all?
Not feasible to
Okay.
keep it, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if it had something to do with any, like, regulations, or if it was just not producing at all.
No, there's just no production.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. Any cross-examination? I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Sure.
Madam Mayor, Commission, if we go that way, I would ask that the commission put some kind of time frame on the improvement.
For the completion?
So that it's not out there 2 to 3 years before we come to an agreement and construction.
And recommendation?
Oh, I would say within 6 months or.
So that'd be a reasonable amount of time. 6 months.
And I don't oppose the above ground marker.
Okay. And is that?
I think just a below ground marker would just make it cleaner, but personally, I think it would be easier for the city to, just go with the above ground marker.
Gotcha, okay. And would that be acceptable, a 6-month kind of timeline? Of course, we don't know what we're doing yet.
We're actually obligated through the state for 6 months anyway.
Okay.
So.
And we're also obligated to plug the well before July 11th. Our plug and abandon sundries that once approved by the state, we have 6 months to do the work.
Okay, so
And we're getting close to that date.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then, moving on, we don't have parties, but we do have an interested person, Mr. Martinez, please. You do have up to 5 minutes to address the commission.
Okay,
Okay, actually, thank you for letting me talk. I actually support the plugging of the well, and we live right down from the well. So I support that. I support what's going on with the trying to improve the water flow. I do have one request though. Are you guys going to be coming in with the rig from the north or the east? If you come in from the north side by that other location, I don't know the name of that other location, we'll be taking the berm down. It's there going through the great gate that's originally there right now. Once you get done with the plugging the well, would you please put the berm back up?
Oh,
That is
sure,
there
yeah,
right now.
that won't be a problem because I agree with you, it needs to be there.
Yes.
And I'm not sure which way they'll bring the rig in, but I would say it would probably be from the north.
I would say from the north, because the other way you're coming in right next to the dog pound on that little way. But I do totally support the plugging of the well.
Thank you. Okay, so yes, did you have a question, Commissioner? No. So I'm assuming there's no cross-examination of Mr. Martinez by staff for the applicant? Okay. Okay, are there any other comments from staff? No? Questions from commission before we close testimony? No? No? Okay. All right, then at this point we will close testimony. Is there further discussion among commission? Okay.
I just have a question.
Yes.
Before I guess. So when we do our motion, do we need to include like the berm, like Mr. Martinez said, and also the contingency for the reclamation for the 6 months? I'm not sure how we would word all that into the, I guess is what I'm asking, and I think the berm probably needs to be a part of that, of the motion and the contingency, or does.
I feel like a lot of it is implied by state regulations and by getting permission to cross through someone else's well pad, but it certainly doesn't hurt if we restate it.
Just to make sure,
Right.
I know the gentleman, I'm sorry, from XTO said, yes, he agreed they need to be there, but I think it needs to be in writing. Just so that we cover everything.
Gotcha.
I would just say, I don't like the term having leverage, but I think it's a positive for both XTO and the city.
Right.
They'll
An
look
opportunity.
good, we'll get,
There
the
you go.
opportunity, we'll get, our standards, instead of pond, gives them a chance to help out.
And potentially help address the issue.
Right, I think that's great.
Okay. Right. Anything else? No? Okay. Does anyone want to take a stab at this? Do you want me to try to translate my notes?
I say go for it, Mayor.
She was absent.
Okay. Okay. So I move to approve 2016-050, an oil and gas application submitted by XTO Energy Inc. to plug and abandon an existing well known as Hampton D number 1 for the findings of fact listed above 1 through 7, with the change to number 7 to read that a subsurface cap will be installed and that the approval is, do we make it conditional?
Contingent?
Well, I don't know if we need to actually make it conditional, since
Or to
they basically
include.
want to get the rig on there and get the well plugged and
Gotcha.
abandoned.
So just to
that
include that they work with
XTO
the
will
city?
cooperate with.
Okay, so that there be a subsurface cap installed and that XTO continue working with the city to finalize plans and to do the construction of the reclamation of the site, which will actually result in a retention pond for stormwater drainage, and that in doing so that they address all their legal obligations per state statute or state codes, and that this be completed within 6 months.
I think that covers it.
Well, they have a legal,
Okay.
I mean, that restated.
Can you read it again?
All right, is there a second? What?
That's above. Did we decide that we are not going to require the subsurface?
I don't know, did you decide that on us?
Yeah, I think what he had said was he was okay, so we don't have to do the variance and all of that other stuff. He said it'd be okay to do the 4-foot marker.
Yeah.
You might have been listening to him.
Okay,
So I'm sorry to interrupt you, but then that was. I
so
think
not a
that-
so just a standard cap?
Yeah.
With
just
marker.
cap,
Okay, so.
Every other year, there'll be a little water up on the pole.
Right, and then also, it's not a retention pond, it's a detention pond. I'm sorry, but it's just a matter of fact.
Okay.
So noted.
Okay, so I would amend that motion to strike the subsurface cap, okay? And, yeah, replace it to detention. Okay, is the second amended?
Last chance.
Who seconded?
Going.
I second.
Okay. All right, Carla, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Burbridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Randall,
Aye.
Commissioner McClure,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sight,
Aye.
Commissioner Rogers.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay, land use hearing B, Hutton Development Minor Subdivision. So this is Hutton Development Minor Subdivision and preliminary and final plat approval. Mr. Hoffman.
Madam Mayor and members of the commission, tonight, what I had hoped and what we thought would be before you would be a presentation of the preliminary and final plat. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to leave it at preliminary stage. The plat that was brought, and this is one of these long, as you know, this project has gone on for quite some time. It's almost what, start from the beginning, 6.33 acres. The general parcel of land located over at the corner of North Ash and West Aztec Boulevard. And this development is in connection with the O'Reilly commercial development, trying to subdivide the 6+ acre parcel into 3 smaller parcels. And as you can see, the general information there, what the 3 new parcels would be. 2 parcels that would be over 2 acres, one was 2.5, and parcel 2 in the middle, the folks that are doing all the work and effort to develop all this, get the smallest parcel at 1.359. This project has several facets. You've seen many of them. I'd just like to try and sum it up. There's a development agreement that is kind of in place. We've been waiting for the attachments, or what I should say is the exhibits. One of the exhibits is what we were hoping to approve preliminary and final tonight, which would be the plat. I do have one drawing that shows, this is a matter of slip up, I'm afraid the applicant didn't bring the correct set, so I want to leave it at preliminary because one has the site plan with the correct easements and roadways and utilities shown, but that's not a plat, it's kind of a giant site plan. The other harkens back to a drawing that we've already in-house reviewed and approved several times. So I think it's safe to say that if you think about how long we've been working on this project, nothing formal in terms of the plat has been presented. So this would be the first night that we would even show you the official preliminary. It cannot be final tonight because unfortunately they need to produce the correct drawing that shows the publicly dedicated roadway that's being put in the right shape with the right easement, the right shaped pond, and all of the easements in place for the utilities. And I apologize to you, I just assumed that the right drawings would be here tonight. And we are shooting for 50-50, one is and one isn't. If it pleases you, I'll show you kind of what we're looking at, so we have that, walk around up front for you to see the drawings.
Okay, so question.
Go ahead.
So you said, what we have tonight is not a plat, it's a site plan, and so
Well,
what's the difference?
Well, the plat is what's on your agenda, and that's what,
Right.
we usually, we review the site plans in-house. So,
Okay.
and, I think you have a couple of hands trying to do things. You have, Ms. Lamar, who represents Hutton with us tonight.
Okay, but
And she's the one that's here, but the firm doesn't seem to understand that they need to keep taking the site plan off the plan.
what's the difference as far as what we're supposed to be approving?
Mhm.
What's the difference between the site plan and the plat?
The plat needs to show any easements or anything of that nature that need to be recorded correctly. And unfortunately, the plat document does not have those drawn correctly. So, in a sense, we're kind of back where we were. This drawing is dated 2015 with some changes in earlier 2016, but it's incorrect. So if this was before you as a preliminary, I would have what I was saying tonight, told them several times. They need to fix the easements so they're shown correctly per what our engineer wants, what our utilities department wants, and the roadway has to be shown correctly. The parcels are all shown correctly, the correct size, and in general.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question of Mr. Humphries?
Yeah.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, we don't have a plat for either preliminary or final approval tonight?
Technically, we don't have the correct plat in front of us. We have one that's older.
We need to have a plat. We're gonna
The
do
plat
a
is here.
preliminary approval. We need the plat that we're actually approving.
Right.
So it sounds to me like we probably can't take action tonight until we have a plat.
We can do that and, yeah, provide 15 days notice, and I'm looking at that, and make sure that meets our, it's not like I don't have the right drawings, it's not here.
Yeah.
So,
We can't approve a plat we don't have.
that's correct. As long as we can get the right drawings and do them both at the same time. Our staff and I, we looked at them and provided them all the comments, so they have that drawing, I just can't speak why it's not.
So that being the case,
And just
Is it a
withdraw
motion? Is it a
withdraw it from the
withdrawal?
agenda and resubmit it when we've got the plat.
so what official action do I need to
Well, I
make?
mean, I think if Mr. Humka would make a request
To
to,
withdraw.
to withdraw the item from tonight's agenda to be submitted later when the plat's ready for consideration by the commission.
Well, not having any other contestant, I guess I win this one, and I will make a recommendation that we withdraw this request.
Unless Mr.
It's like a
Watson
game show for
chooses
the last
to-
one.
Give
Then
you a minute.
all the commission has to do is
You wanna have it- you wanna-
approve Mr. Humka's motion to withdraw.
I think he's assuming that he already did. Are you making?
I mean,
Okay, and so do we need to vote on that? Just accept it, okay, thank you.
Without objection, it is withdrawn.
Okay. I'm assuming no one on the commission's objecting. Okay. All right. Okay, then that brings us to city manager, commissioner, and attorney reports. Mr. Ray.
I have no report.
Wow. Okay.
And he wants his birthday cake. Yeah.
Just thinking about pineapple upside down cake.
And those corn dogs.
And corn dogs.
Okay, so, Four Corners Economic Development, we had a representative from our search firm, SGR. Don't ask me what that stands for.
Katie.
I'll make something up
There
if
you
you
go.
don't have it.
So we had a representative from SGR here in town yesterday and today, just kind of touring them around San Juan County, sharing with them, structure of the organization, what we expect this person to be doing, all of that kind of stuff. And so from there, probably week and a half, then we'll have an actual position profile ready and we'll start recruiting at that point. So, timeframe is expected to be 90 days from when the position profiles. So that's where we are in that process.
just a reminder, I did go to the EDAP meeting, they did not have a quorum, so we just had a lot of discussion on some of the projects that we were doing. I have the Northwest New Mexico Seniors, Executive Board meeting this next week. Just a reminder that the water's gonna be off on May 26th, I believe, from 8 a.m. till about noon.
Well,
And-
maybe a little bit later.
Maybe a
not
little
sure.
later. Okay.
I think there's notice runs it till 4 o'clock.
Is it 4? 8 to 4?
And that's only for a few homes and businesses.
Right.
Along
Along the
the highway.
Right.
Which is very limited.
Which was, right. The article in the Daily Times, I know, they had the wrong date, but they also, it sounded like it was gonna be that whole.
Right, so there's.
But it's not, it's just gonna be
there's
right
maybe-
along
Right,
the highway.
yes,
Right?
yep.
So, just a reminder that the election is, coming up June 7th, primary. Just don't forget to vote in that. Early voting is open, right? The only other thing is I told Josh I was going to, tell you guys this is why I missed the last meeting. I have my proof. That I went to the Reba and Brooks and Dunn concert in Las Vegas. And it was a lot of fun, so thank you for letting me miss the meeting and go to that. It was fun. They put on a great show. So that's all, thank you. Happy birthday to Josh.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rogers, without a meeting of the advisory board, I have nothing to report. The airport is open again.
Okay.
I did go to the lodgers tax meeting and said they didn't have a quorum, so we just kind of discussed with Larry. He did turn in his resignation notice for us, it was just a formality of it. And Sherilyn is gonna work on maybe sending out notices to local businesses, trying to get more represented. Larry did commit one of his staff members to serve, just to represent the ruins as far as the tourism aspect as a board member, but we're still short. So Sherilyn, last thing we said at the meeting was Sherilyn's gonna look into sending out letters to new businesses, someone to try to get fill those vacancies.
Have we had anyone, because we have a library position, correct, advisory board position, and then we have, what's the other, it's the 2 for lodgers tax. This makes 3? Wow.
We need to start.
We did get an interest for the library.
Okay. For everyone out in the audience and listening at home, this is a great way to get involved in what's happening in the city, that we need citizens to fill advisory boards. It becomes very important, and at times very frustrating when we can't make quorums because we don't have enough citizens who are actively involved. So,
Would this be a good time, Mayor, to kind of explain the responsibilities and the requirements of those positions? I mean, maybe somebody doesn't understand if they could.
well, if we have an interest in the library board, maybe we won't do that one at the moment. Lodgers Tax Advisory Board actually, and it is very specific by state statute, who sits on that seat, and I don't mean who by name, but who by position.
Right.
So there has to be, is it 3 lodgers, 2 lodgers?
I'm not sure, I just know it was part of the tourism aspect.
Right.
And because Sherilyn is all.
Yeah, there's at least 2 lodgers, so hotels, RV parks, things of that nature. Yeah, someone in the tourist service industry, there's a citizen at large, I'm not sure what the last one is, but basically, the folks who sit on this board help make decisions about how lodgers tax funding is spent. So lodgers tax funding is a bed tax, I mean, it's the easiest way to explain it. It's a bed tax, and so for everyone who stays a night in one of our local hotels, in an RV park, that tax comes in and it's to promote Aztec. Now, it's not to promote a specific business, it's used to promote the whole community, inviting tourists in. A lot of times funding is used to help fund our tourism marketing that happens through our visitor center. There's funding that's set aside each year to help promote our community events. So when we think of the Blues Fest, the Highland Games and Celtic Festival, Steampunk Convention, those types of events can apply for funding to help market themselves. So all of it goes to marketing the community.
But does the representative, do they have to be an owner of a business? Can they just be an employee of the business?
They have to be owner? Wow. Owner or the head person?
So the owner or head person of a business that represents or supports tourism in the community.
Well, because when
That's one-
Snapback in was in it a few years ago,
They wanted someone else. Yeah.
it was their manager who
Right.
showed up. It wasn't,
Yeah.
you know.
So we need to clarify, it, yeah. Kathy, do you know?
I thought it could be a representative.
That's what I thought of that entity, that business.
Because that's what we've had in the past, it hasn't always been the owner.
Right.
Mayor, reads though in the information that they had put on the board, must be filled by a member who is an owner or operator of lodgings subject to the occupancy tax and other. blah, blah, blah.
Operator though, is that not a manager type
Since he's
person?
an owner or operator, so, yeah, I guess if it's,
Yeah. So,
Owner or operator.
right, owner or operator.
It must be, because Terry's on.
Yeah, because
Right.
Terry's on,
Right,
we couldn't have a representative from the ruins.
right, yeah, who owns that? The president? Yeah. We the people, yeah, depends on how you look at it. So anyway, so it is important, and yeah, at this point now we're without a quorum, for that boards would can conduct its business, approve funding for events, things of that nature. So, yeah, so if anybody out there knows anyone, yes?
On the library board, we're required by the state to have a functioning board in order to get our state funding. So it's really, really crucial that we have a functioning
Right.
board,
Yeah.
otherwise we don't mobilize that money in the community.
But yeah,
That's
each,
the same issue with
with lodger's tax,
Mm-hmm.
right. Well, and even some of our other advisory boards, the airport obviously is not quite the same, but even our EDAB, our Economic Development Advisory Board, if we didn't have a functioning board, then if and when we get some type of economic program or deal or something that happens, that board by state or by state statute is the entity who reviews those. So it becomes very important that we have functioning advisory board. So I know all the staff out there are rolling their eyes. Anyway, okay, I will get off that soapbox. Commissioner Randall, anything else to report?
No, one more thing. I don't know how to, well, it's just more of a request as far as items like tonight with the, the land, or the plugging, the hearings, and if there's just some way, like the consent agenda items are very, information, we have it, it's good, but just like with the working with XTO, and it just seems like we're missing some information before the meeting. And if it's possible, I know a lot of times we're rushed for time, but if it's possible to have more information beforehand, so we don't get kind of blindsided. Or,
Right.
just a.
Sometimes that's
I know.
achievable and sometimes.
Right. Just, I don't know if it's because of time constraints usually, or,
Specifically with land use here that you're talking about?
or just, they're not having the right plat. Was it just down to tonight, hoping it was here beforehand, so we would be able to approve it? That'd be a request, so we don't look, to other citizens watching, and that we,
So if
have an idea
necessary,
what we're doing and
we have an option
prepared,
to
I
pull
guess.
it
Yeah.
also, if necessary.
Just a request going forward. Thank you.
I'll keep this brief, because I know Josh wants a corn dog and birthday cake. I'm going to remind everybody Riverfest in Farmington this weekend. It's a great idea. There's somebody to be there with face painting and stuff like that. It's fun. Beautiful place down by the river. That is Saturday and Sunday, probably from about 10 to 6. I'm so glad that I'm on the library board, because I found that something so cool that I asked Kate, I said, why aren't we really advertising this? I'm an avid reader. In the morning, I read technical stuff, like tonight. But in the evening, I like a good book to delve into. I have a Kindle, had no idea that I could borrow from, what is it, Kate, about 30 libraries throughout?
I think they're 37.
37 throughout New Mexico. So I can use my Kindle, go in there, borrow a book, any book. I don't have to wait for Amazon to give it to me once a month for free. But any book, I was so excited, I couldn't wait. But if you do not have a Kindle, you can get a Kindle app on your iPad, on your iPhone. So you can borrow these books, because I only read electronically now. directly through the Aztec Library. I think, and I went to the webpage and everything, I think it should be at the top, but then, that's, I had to hunt for it a little, but what a great resource. For those of us who have given up the paperbacks and stuff like that too. Now I don't have to pay $12 for an ebook of some of my favorite authors. So those of you who don't know, I'm spreading the word, Kate. I'm spreading the word. I also went to the Fourth Friday thing that the merchants had put on here in Aztec when you saw all the red balloons last weekend. It was wonderful. Again, there was music on the street, 3 different places. There was, I forget how many stores were open. I went to all of them and found out from the merchants afterwards. A lot of people came Friday to see what was happening, went back to at least 2 of the stores that I know of Saturday and purchased items that they had seen Friday. So I think the merchants are putting this all together, and I think if they continue on this, just doing it once a month, which is feasible right now, then it will really pick up the whole downtown area. And it's a perfect time of year to do it, right at the beginning of summer. So the next 4th Friday will be in June. So when you see the red balloons, hopefully just go by. We have a Taste of Blues event at the theater that we do every year, and I'll just put the information on the front table. It's our kickoff for the Blues Fest, and that will be not this Friday, but the following Friday. So that's all I'm going to say, because I want some birthday cake.
Oh, we all
We're all invited to Josh's house. It's on the way to my niece's, so I
You
thought
guys
I'd
go
just
ahead.
drop by.
I'll be at Sonic with corn dogs. Make yourself at home.
All right. Oh, and the reason there might be some kind of confusion thing, with communication and stuff, I said Mercury is in retrograde. Just saying.
Station direction.
It means communications get messed up. All right.
Does that mean it's always in retrograde?
No.
Just asking.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let Tina know that we know it's the Animal Control Center, not the pound.
Thank
Yeah. I could see you kind of stifling back there. We know that it's the Animal
She wasn't
Control
stifling
Center.
too much.
It's not the dog. That's all I got.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I would like to say that when I was at the National Bowling Tournament, I was able to hand out a whole bunch of several packets on the city of Aztec and pass. I got with Willan before I went, and so she gave me some of the visitor center stuff, so I was able to pass that out. And I could have probably handed out 100 of our fans that said City of Aztec, but I was able to promote the city and all the things that we're doing quite a bit from just being here for a couple of days. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Did you promote it at the concert too, or just the bowling?
Yeah.
The concert, I didn't get a chance to promote it, but at the bowling, I did.
She was too busy standing on the chair.
Right,
screaming, yeah. All right, department reports.
Good evening. Thank you. I just wanted to report and just let the public know that as part of the community outreach, is part of my position at the center, and I have invited the seniors to participate in the program at Rain Dance Association. As some of you know, this is my 24th year working with people with special needs at my ranch with the horses. And I would like to extend to the community an invitation to the veterans, specifically to come and spend time with the horses at the ranch. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I'm prepared this summer to start. It is recognized through the Veterans Program as a therapeutic program that is effective when it comes to post-traumatic stress disorder. So if there's anyone out there that is a veteran that would like to come spend time with the horses, who maybe has experience in that kind of a program, or would like to share their ideas and those experiences with me, please contact me. We also need volunteers. We're training right now, and the program starts the beginning of June 6th. But so I'm just extending this invitation as part of the community outreach to the veterans, and so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Meet her up there. I just wanted to tell you about a couple of things. I won't be brief. First of all, CGI, the people that did the videos that Josh stars in, I thought it was so neat to watch all 5 or 6 of them when I was in Ohio to learn about it. He was telling about all the programs and the services. I was not aware until I started talking with them that that's a free service that's provided through the National League of Cities, and they're going to come and film 4 new ones. And they've broadened what they allow to be filmed. And I asked if we could have Chamber involved with some of the businesses and the hub and everything else that we're doing. So we had a telephone conference yesterday with Terry Bailey, and the treasurer, yes, and myself. Just want to bring some attention because one will be Aztec focused, obviously like an Aztec commercial, and the other would be about Chamber, and then there's 2 other ones, and I want you guys to give it some thought, some feedback. I'm thinking one would be about economic development, and some of the projects and things that we have happening, and perhaps the other one being we have a growing number of events that seem to happen. So it can be anything, just so long as it's municipal related. Can't go too far beyond the bounds of since the Chamber's a partner, we can involve them. What is interesting is, and they'll be sending some information, they cover up to $250 of like a membership fee if someone's not a member of the Chamber, so that I'll send you the link, but if some of the communities that have already done this, you'll be looking at the city of Aztec, and it'll have a bunch of logos around it, say like Jackson Plastic or Crash Music, and they can have a video shot. And so some of that cost is covered up front or towards a membership. And so they said that when they first met us, which I wasn't here at the time, they've grown 300 employees since. And so they had some, I looked at their videos, I looked to say some of the quality is nicer than even the one that I think we paid a lot of money for to have 2 30-second videos with our state Mexico troop. But so we had a nice conversation about the different portals, opportunities through that, and I was really pleased to hear that it's affordable too for some of the businesses to take part of it, and it all links together. So you have it on their website, you can get it on our hotels, the TVs, like we're trying to do with the New Mexico True video. They'll shoot in several formats, and it's all on them. We just help coordinate that. Today, I'm sorry if I was the one that was holding you up so that you could have a disorganized meeting, but I'm glad you waited. I was down in Albuquerque, and I always am amazed, I guess I should say pleasantly surprised at the meetings that I've gone to down there. Everyone is always so happy to see Aztec, and it's like you're the breath of fresh air that walks in. We have 2 applications down there. One, again, for our leads training for $15,000, and we made that presentation this morning, and I think I'm pretty positive about that. And then another one is Fund It, which they have every 2 months. If you have a project, you'll meet with all the state agencies that have various funding sources, and they listen to your project, and then they talk amongst themselves. They give you advice and feedback, but they also try and hunt for the sources in their own departments of how to support a project, which is very unique. Not used to that. It's very progressive, and got a lot of good feedback for project for the hub for applied for $85,000 to try and cover the gap. I should have asked for more because the only other one down there today was Clovis, and they wanted $1.5 million. They're the biggest cheese factory in the U.S. apparently. I didn't know that was there. That's all I have, so now we can get on to the library report.
Ooh, that's a look.
Checking to see if the chief's here. He normally also wants to come up. Anyway, thank you very much, Commissioner McClure, for the plug for us. The ebooks, our digital delivery, is actually accessed directly through our catalog, which is at the very top. Any book, any title you search or author you search, if it's available digitally, it will come up.
Click here.
I'll work with, I'm sure Ed can fix that. All right. But thank you for that. What I wanted to say was that last week I was lucky enough to be at some trainings at the State Library in Santa Fe, which was also my first time in Santa Fe. And the State Library, I will echo what my colleague here, Bill, one of the Bills, said. They were really very pleased to see me. They said, we haven't had anyone from Aztec before come to our library directors meetings because it was so far, the distance. I mean, we do the online webinars, but these are regular workshops I do with the library directors. Apart from, there was one group that had come from further than I had, but it was great. They tend to lump us in groups of communities about the same size. And one of the things I noticed was that, echoing what Larry, who's now left from the ruins, said, is that we have a really, really functional commission, functional administration, functional CABI budget process compared to some of my peers in towns about the same size. And I felt really great to be saying this, you know, I don't have that problem, I don't have that problem. So that was really, really interesting for me to get that perspective just amongst my peers of library directors across the state. So thank you, Josh, for letting me go there. I also took my museum pass and went to a whole lot of free museums and art exhibitions and things. And that museum pass, any of you can check out from the library. We have 3 of them, and it comes just from the State Library too. Again, state funding. There is great support of all the states I've worked in, and I've worked in several. There is great state support for libraries here, and we do benefit from it, which is why I'm really keen to keep my advisory board function. The only other big thing is what I talked about last time. It's summer reading time. The launch party is Friday. I think we have a mime on hand, don't we? June 3rd. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes.
There's going to be a surprise mime.
Surprised mime or surprise mime?
Surprise mime. And yeah, we've got lots and lots and lots of things happening through summer, mainly for children and youth of all ages. So thank you and happy birthday, Josh. I hadn't realized it was your birthday, so I'm sorry. I would have prepared a much longer presentation.
Thank heavens. Take that off the calendar.
Okay, any other department reports? Nobody's running. We entertain a motion for adjournment. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Let it be better. Let it be done.
How's Miss C doing?
Well,
Baby yet? You know, Danny?